Welcome to Borrow Time. I'm Janine Lang, author, startup coach, and entrepreneur. Now, in this podcast series, startups are learning how to take months, if not years, off of their startup journey. I'm interviewing successful business owners and asking them about the biggest mistakes that they've made, what it costs them in terms of time, and most importantly, what are some of the valuable lessons that they got from that experience? By sharing these lessons that they had to learn the hard way with our audience of startups, I'm hoping it'll save you valuable time. And today's guest is Dani Hill. Now, Dani is the COO of Kick-Ass Swag. Welcome, Dani.
Hi, thanks so much, Janine. Thanks for having me today.
Oh, it's absolutely my pleasure. Thank you so much for joining. So, start, Dani. Please tell us about Kick-Ass Swag. What a great name.
Oh, thank you so much. We do promotional products. We do merchandising and branding with your logo. So think about all the things you can hold that you could put your logo on. We have some wonderful clients here in Las Vegas, as well as all over the States and all over the world, actually, that use us to help bring their brands to life.
Wow, that's awesome. Global. Terrific. Congratulations. So I'm just curious, what was the inspiration for starting the business?
Well, my wife actually takes all the credit for that inspiration of starting the business. She started in the promotional products industry about 11 years ago now. And 5 or so years ago, during COVID, when all the things and changes were happening in the world, she got let go. So the only natural thing for her to progress was to become her own business owner in the promotional products field. So it's thanks to her that we got started. I do remember choosing our name actually, and we decided that if we're going to name ourselves something like Kick Our Swag, somebody might not want to work with a business with such a raunchy name. But we actually figured out that we don't want to work with the business that doesn't want to work with us. So we decided to keep the name and run with it. And it's definitely stood out. There's been a lot of really great comments, and we really do make swag that wows our clients and that really stands out. So it works really well for us.
Absolutely. Well, when it's consistent with your values, you just know it and go for it. Yeah.
Exactly.
Terrific. Excellent. Well, it certainly sounds like it started from a challenge because, boy, losing a job and being in that position of what do I do next? Obviously, that's a really pivotal moment. And so are those moments when we make our biggest mistake. So, Dani, if whether it's yourself or your wife, what would you say is the biggest mistake that really cost you?
So running this business is there can be mistakes quite easily made. I joined on full time about a year ago. I'd always kind of helped out my wife during the process, but she was the one that really forged through our first big mistakes.
Sure.
And honestly, it's misquoting. It is not valuing what we're doing correctly and under charging clients. It maybe doesn't get caught straight away. So it may be a day, a week that mistake wasn't made, and it results in obviously a deficit of our bottom line. So we do lose money in that particular instance, and we can lose a little face because it's I've made a mistake kind of problem. And yeah, so I guess that would probably be the biggest mistake. And it can happen, and it can be the smallest mistake as well. But it is a conjoined effort of like a mistake. Oops.
For sure. And thank you, Dani, for being so honest, right? I mean, we all make them. I almost kind of call them teething pains
For
in that
sure.
in that first year, right? There's just all this trial and error, this figuring out the business, what to do and what not to do. And
Mhm.
so those teething pains are just part of that natural process for sure.
Yes, absolutely. That first 12 months is just filled with little tiny oopsie moments that we have to take them in our stride. Like I said, I've been working next to her for a year now, and I made some of the similar mistakes. Luckily, I had her as my safeguard. I'm not a solopreneur anymore. She's not a solopreneur anymore. So I was able to use her knowledge to bounce back from those little mistakes that I made. But she definitely made some mistakes there. And yeah, you just have to kind of take it in your stride. It's teething pains, like you said. This is what happens.
For sure. And it all costs, I guess,
It does.
valuable time and resources. So if you had to quantify that, which might be a little bit difficult, but what would you say it cost in terms of time?
In terms of time, having to redo orders, having to redo bookkeeping, having to, reach back to the clients and let them know that, or maybe not even let them know, but somehow, come to terms with that mistake that had happened and ensure that that doesn't happen in the future. It literally could be days or weeks that you are spending reversing those errors for sure.
Yes. As you say, it's not just one error. There's a whole series
Yes.
of that. That whole first year just feels like a hot mess, to be honest, right?
Oh my gosh, I know it sounds awful, but yeah. There's definitely teething problems. That first year can definitely be filled with them, but as long as you're aware of those mistakes, I guess is the first step, right? Making sure that you understand and own those mistakes. Especially being women business owners, we want to make sure that we are not shamefully admitting to those mistakes, but standing up and saying, "Hey, I'm human. Like, I'm sorry, this is a mistake that happened. Now, how do we remedy this, either for this particular order or going forward?" So, whether that means you need a checklist to make sure that you charge correctly for shipping, I mean, somebody might have done that a couple of times in the last year. Or checking our vendors' websites for the additional charges that I may have forgotten to put onto the client. So they honestly they got pretty lucky this first year that I was around. There was a lot of mistakes.
Of
But
course.
learning from that and making sure that you can go forward a little bit more confidently.
For sure. And I love what you said. It's about taking accountability, right? If we mess up, we admit we're human and we mess up. We all go through that. So thank you for sharing that because honestly, the bigger problem would be if you're not making any mistakes, you're probably
Yes,
not even trying, right? So
if you're
we
not making any mistakes, you may not be looking hard enough at your workflow because there's probably something in there that could be improved.
I love that. You're absolutely right. Then it's called a blind spot. And so at
Yeah.
least if you're acknowledging what you're not doing well, now you're on your way to finding a solution and improving that process. I love it. That's a healthy perspective. It's actually a learning mindset, isn't it?
It is. You have to retrain the brain a little bit as a business owner because you've got nobody else as a safety blanket. There's nobody else's money invested. There's nobody else's time invested. If it's just you, you need to be able to be accountable to what you're doing, what your goals are, and achieving those goals, correctly, the most direct way that you can for sure.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that mistake for sure. Is there another mistake that comes to mind?
Yeah, when we first started talking, Janine, I stuck into my head was one of my biggest mistakes that I'd ever made in the business world. And it was I've done a lot of things in my long life. And one of the most fun things that I did actually was I headed back to Australia for a year and I opened up a cafe. My dad helped me out with it. So we had a little bit of help financially to kind of get it off the ground and up and running. And it was very exciting. He had a historical building, and so he had the permissions to refurbish the bottom floor into a cafe. So all of that physical labor and literally building our business from the ground up was so rewarding and exciting. Took about 6 weeks to get the counters in, the commercial kitchen, the license, everything that we needed, and it was very, very exciting. Let me tell you, Janine. Now this was many moons ago. Much younger, much more fit, much more ready for a fun adventure. Well, opening day came and we were very excited. All of our family came to the cafe on the first day to try out our menu. They'd all been, I was going to say victims of our menu in the past, but they'd all been our test bunnies for weeks before. And so they all came to the cafe to order their favorite dishes. And it was very exciting. It was very family based. We were in a very small country town and excited to have that open sign flipped over on our door and waiting for our first customers to come. Well, lo
Wow.
and behold, a tour bus rocks up, and many, many people get off of the bus and walk into our cafe. I'm on. I'm at our counter. I'm ready. I've got the cash register. I'm ready to rock. I know the menu by heart, and here they come. And they place lots and lots of orders. I want to say there was 10 or 11 orders. So I'm frantically writing down all the orders and ringing them up and getting it all organized. Well, I grossly undercharged that group of tourists that came through our cafe that day.
Oh my
Grossly undercharged. Luckily for them, they must have thought, wow, today is bargain day at our cafe. It was like
Um,
embarrassingly under what I should have charged. It was the nerves of the moment. It was just being all wrapped up in that
yes.
excitement and the enthusiasm, and then quickly getting to work behind the scenes, creating all of the sandwiches and coffees and the foods that they had ordered, getting it all served. People were sitting in our cafe for the first time. It was very, very exciting, and I definitely made a big mistake.
The excitement, an entire bus rolling up on the
Yep,
curb. I can't even imagine who's ready for that, honestly.
I was
So,
not.
not me, she admits. Well, kudos to you. I'm sure we've all been there where you just get overwhelmed in the moment. So for sure, it cost you, but there was some great learnings that came from that, right?
Yeah, a couple of different things. Obviously, the value of the goods that we sold that day was lost,
Right.
and we lost a little bit of humiliation. I think a little bit of embarrassment. Well, we gained embarrassment, and just a little bit of a reassessment of like what do we need to do in those moments. So the next time a tour bus pulls up, we're not going to just give our food away for free. One thing that we did gain from that experience was a little bit of perspective. We actually took that little notepad with the order on it and the total that I had created on the notepad, and we framed it and we put it up in the kitchen space so that it could be a constant reminder of that funny first day experience that we had, and also to make sure that we valued ourselves, our products, our service, our food and our ambiance, our cafe. Make sure we put the right value on that for the future customers that came in.
Yeah, I love that. It's again a healthy perspective about mistakes, not treating a mistake as a failure, celebrating and acknowledging the learning that came from that mistake as that reminder by posting that. I love that. I love that. That's a great example for sure. Yes. So I've
Yeah.
asked about a couple of mistakes now. So now you have your opportunity to balance that. What's one of the greatest successes or accomplishments that you're most proud of?
Oh my goodness, I was not prepared for this question. There's so many, Janine, to be honest. And as I'm getting older and more wiser in my life, I value success a little differently than I did in my 20s and 30s. Success for me is so many different things, and it's so varied. I'm very, very lucky that I live and work from home. I work with my wife. We raise a beautiful family. So success is kind of a balance of all of those things. But I would say having clients that are happy, returning clients, I love that when somebody gets something great from us and then comes back to us for more of their employee gifting and things like that. I love that feeling that we have this core group of amazing clients that come to us each season or whenever they are in need of stuff, and we know we can rely on them and they know us. And so we build that really great rapport and bond. That's success for me in the business world. Another success is finding a new client, somebody brand new to the space that's like, hey, I saw your stuff. It's really cool. I love those successes as well. So, and then success is also a wonderful meal at the end of the day with my family. So success is so many different ways to measure that. Yeah, that's it. There's just so many different variables on success, isn't there? And you've got to take
Yeah.
the little tiny successes and you've got to take the amazingly huge win successes in your stride. They both need to come to you and be taken with, a degree of humility, a degree of celebration. That's how we live our life as we get a little older and we see all of those things
Yeah.
unfold.
That's a great definition. I love that one because there's so many aspects, as you said, and some of them are wins in the business, which is all great. We need those rewards, that reinforcement that there's good stuff happening. And boy, loyal clients that come back, return clients, that's
Best.
the best, the best. I agree. But then that's only the aspect of business. So true about the balance. Because if that's winning and the rest of the priorities in your life are losing, then overall you lose, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And again, that just comes with us being older and wiser now. We're in this place where we can celebrate these successes and listen, there's times in business that it's not as successful and not as busy, is not as much income. But those are the times that we're hustling and meeting new people and doing new things. And so that's very exciting too. So success can be measured in so many different ways.
Absolutely. And I can see obviously the positive impact that's had on your life overall in terms of
Usually.
your
Still bad moments, don't worry. I'm a human. I'm human.
Absolutely. It makes it all worthwhile for sure. So you've just been absolutely terrific sharing some of those successes and obviously some of those things that you needed to learn the hard way for sure. We've all got those bumps in that roadway. Any final advice for startups out there? Anybody that was in your shoes and starting out?
I love that. Yes. So I guess my best advice would be just to go with the ebbs and the flows of the business life, making those mistakes, making those, coming up with those solutions, finding new people, meeting again with old people. The ebbs and the flows happen financially, emotionally, in all the different ways. And I'm going to be brutally honest, the ebbs and flows never end. You're always going to learn how to ride them. You're just going to learn how to ride them better and with more grace.
I love that because sometimes people do have that perspective that they need to kind of earn it. And it, just when they get over that for 6 months or 1 year or three
Yes.
years. But you're right, it never actually ends the ebbs and flows, right?
Sounds a little
Hopefully,
daunting. It sounds a little daunting, but yeah, you just, like I said, you just learn to ride it with a little bit more grace. You know that the money's coming. You know that those contacts are going to come through for you. It may not be now or next week or next month. It may be next year. You don't know. So you've just got to kind of balance. You've got to get ready for that future of uncertainty, and just kind of ride with it. Smile
for
through those
sure.
hard times. That'll make the good times even better.
Absolutely. I love that perspective because when you're smiling and enjoying yourself and see it as a positive learning experience, then you're right. It makes it easier to ride out those lows. And hopefully the roller coaster starts to even out a little bit over time, right?
Oh,
So
yes,
the
absolutely.
lows aren't as low.
Yes.
And hopefully you've still got some great highs, but hopefully it just softens a little bit that the lows aren't as low because you recognize some of those situations and as you say you handle those with more grace and confidence as we get
Absolutely.
more seasoned
Absolutely. Yep,
for
absolutely.
sure.
I couldn't agree more. They definitely do soften over time because you expect them to, like planning for the future, making your processes better, expanding your network, all of those things will help with those ebbs and flows, but they're always going to happen.
Sure, yeah, that's just inevitable for sure. Now that must be really exciting for you as well, building this with your partner.
Yes, it can be very exciting for sure. I mean, if you work with your loved one, if you know, you know. It's first couple of weeks were really rough when we decided that that's what we were going to do. We're going to team up. We're going to do this, tackle this together. She knew so much about the industry and I didn't. So there was a very big learning curve that she forgot that I needed to still take. So there was a little bit of impatience to begin with. I told her she was the worst boss I've ever had in my whole life, and there was days ended in tears. But you know what? We got through it because there was an understanding there, and I'm only here to help. Quite honestly, before I started working with her, she was working 7 days a week. She was too busy to have a family life and to have any kind of balance. I was working in a job that I didn't particularly like. It was time for me to leave that and naturally progress here so that I could take a little bit of her weight off. Um, she is great. She is so amazing at what she does. I would not ever show anybody her desk. It is just an absolute nightmare. And I am not like that. So I was able to come in and help her organize both physically and electronically. Her emails, oh my gosh, I think there was 21,000 emails in her email box when I know. So wondering why things got missing or overlooked. Hello. So
Yeah.
able to like do her filing for her and kind of pick up all of that stuff, working with vendors, things like that. And I was able to pick up a lot of the behind the scenes stuff. And before you know it, I now have my own clients that I, of course, refer to Regina whenever I have any questions about orders and products and things. But we're working really, really well as a team. We're a year in. It's been super exciting. Yeah, really, really fun. I love working with her. And I also, yeah, there's days.
Yeah. That's amazing. It sounds like you brought some strengths, filling in some perhaps blind spots or areas of opportunity, we could say, you've pointed out. So being able to balance each other out and bring those strengths. But I know it can be challenging. I've got some friends, and when both people in that couple are working together, as you say, there can be some tense moments. So, any advice for the couples out there who are embarking on this startup journey together?
Good luck. No, it's not all bad. It's really not all bad. It is exactly what you say. It's learning strengths. It's learning where I can fit in, what my strengths are that I bring, and also where are my weaknesses? Where do I need to ask for help? Where do I need to figure out what I'm doing? And there's patience. I mean, a lot of times there's just the patience in the workplace is different to the patience that's at home. Which is one in the same place. So that's difficult. Having a little bit of space from each other can really help where occasionally I'll grab my laptop or she'll grab her laptop and we'll go work away from home or we'll work in a different room and not be in the same office together. Just to kind of have a little bit of space, a little bit of breathing room, be able to be our own people, and then come back together and be able to meet and work on the things that we need to work together on. So have patience, take space, allow each other some grace, and good luck.
I love that. We do need some boundaries, right? And see you've made it work. I still see the smile on your face, so that's great. And I think part of this is partnerships with anybody, but there is an extra dynamic here when you are together 24/7. And so certainly COVID has taught us about some of those pressures and how to manage that, but how to do that in a business environment. That's awesome. That's awesome. Thank
Yes. One of my other pieces of advice is that we very rarely talk about work outside of the office or outside of office hours. And if something comes up when we're in bed or in the kitchen making dinner, we email that to each other because it's something that needs to be put on the plate, something that we're thinking of right now. Just shoot me an email, like we'll deal with it tomorrow, because quite honestly, we do have to have those boundaries in place. We do have to have healthy work-life balance, and it's very tricky to balance that when your work and your life is the same place. We're not driving to work
you.
anymore. Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, sometimes you're right. The right answer is email that because that's the communication channel for business, not
Yes.
over the dinner
Not over
table.
dinner.
In
Yeah.
the words to live by. I love that. Are there any final thoughts, Danny, that you'd like to share?
No, that's about it. I just want to thank you so much for hosting me and for hosting such wonderful entrepreneurs that I have seen on your podcast so far. I look forward to your future successes as well, Janine. Thanks so much for having me on.
Oh, thank you. And if our listeners want more information, Danny, how can they reach you?
Yay! Yes, of course. So you can find us at kickasswag.com. And yes, it has all those S's. So it's KICKASSSWAG.com. And through Kickass Swag, you can see our link trees on there. So you'll be able to find how to contact us, how to book a meeting, some of our awesome projects that we've got going on, and check out our website, everything. Our social media's on there, everything.
That's awesome. And thank you again for so graciously sharing some of your mistakes and also those wins. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you today, and I'm sure our listeners got a ton of value. So thank you again.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
All right, until next time, and believe in you.